and welcome to Full Focus, where law and news intersect. I'm Crystal Parham. In today's edition, we travel to Brazil to experience the World Cup, and we take a trip down the Amazon River. We speak with the founder of Queen's UFO Meetup to discuss UFO phenomenon, and we go inside the box to determine whether George Zimmerman would be acquitted in the state of New York. We have all this and much, much more. We have an exciting show, so let's go.
Right now, you're entering the USA-Portugal game. USA! We are now getting water. Very interesting. And the water costs $6. We are on our way to the jungle, and we are halfway there. You want to know what there is here? It's not good stuff. Okay, first things first. There are sick dogs surrounding me. It smells like fish. I can't even breathe. I had to breathe in my dress. We're just stuck here because we don't know where our van is or the guy that's leading us. And there's a car accident and all this stuff, so wish us luck. I'm Parham-Murray giving you updates. Not about the game, because our game's over. Just saying, very disappointed because the USA could have blocked that. Stray dog getting scared. Now we're going into the jungle. We are in the narrow part of the jungle. And I am using my life jacket as a shield because I am terrified of bugs and snakes and all that. So I'm going to wait till the wide part to get out of my shield. It's pretty darn scary. on our way to find the monkey. Follow me. Oh my God. Okay, this tickles so much. You smell like poop. You actually smell like poop. Legitimately. Oh! I can't even see what you're doing, but you're a monkey. Get off of my dress. Oh my God! Okay.
Yeah, he's good monkeying around, mister. Good monkeying around.
What are you doing? Don't even go there. We are going on a night tour to spot caimans. It's getting dark and I'm getting pretty scared. I know I'm wearing a hideous hat, but it's worth it because we are going to be fishing for 2 hours in the hot sun. It's very humid here. My hair is not doing well. We used to drive we used to go on by boat 45 minutes to where the piranhas are, fish, 45 minutes back.
Who would have thought you'd be sweating here?
Fishing for piranhas.
What's that?
How do I spray to my face?
We caught 3 fish.
No,
Oh,
it's
you
not a
did.
steep learning curve at
Oh,
all.
you-
I know all the
That's it.
basketball
3.
guys.
No, but you.
They were pretty scary, and their teeth are like razor sharp.
This one made me know the
Yep,
names.
that's a piranha.
You think UFO phenomena is becoming so popular these days on the news, on television?
Well, I think it's a way to wake people up to the fact that there are other, beings in the universe, that we're not the only people, in the galaxy. Anybody who thinks that the world is, that we're alone in this universe, also thinks that the world is flat, and it's just a good way to help people expand their minds, basically.
Have you always believed in extraterrestrial life, or did something happen in your life that made you believe?
So I was driving on the Northern State Parkway on Long Island, and I saw this cluster of red lights. They were just like in no particular formation, just like a big cluster of red lights just going by, on the road. And I thought maybe they were helicopters or something at the time, but I just thought it was really weird. And then the next weekend, I was driving on the Clearview Expressway and I saw the same lights. And I was like, I got to get this on film. So I got off the highway, got off on Francis Lewis Boulevard, and I took out my cell phone, which didn't capture it as well as I had hoped to, but I watched these red lights pulsating, and they're moving slowly across the sky, no sound or anything like that. And it was late at night, it's like 11 o'clock at night, and they just moved slowly across the sky, beyond the tree line, and then they started slowly coming back one by one, like after each other in a line.
Well, just to play devil's advocate, could it have been something other than
It
this,
could have been helicopters, it could have been drones, it could have been a lot of things, but the definition of a UFO is an unidentified flying object. It doesn't necessarily have to mean an alien spacecraft. It's just something it's in the sky flying around, you don't know what it is.
And by the formation, you'd never seen anything like this before?
No, not. Like I said, I live in Queens my whole life. I've lived near JFK and LaGuardia. I see planes and helicopters every day, and it was nothing like I'd ever seen before.
And what do you think about the government? Everyone here has heard about Roswell, and do you think there is some kind of government cover-up going on?
Yes, there is a government cover-up. It started with Roswell, because when Roswell happened, they announced in the paper, oh, we captured a crashed alien spaceship, and then the next day, oh, well, it wasn't an alien spaceship, it was a weather balloon. And that was really the start of it. That's why you hear so much about Roswell, because that was the start of the cover-up. And there's a lot of reasons why they have these, the cover-ups. It's all about control, money, and power. First and foremost, if you're the government or the president, and you get on the TV and you say, okay, yes, there are aliens out there. They fly in these spaceships that are beyond any technology we have. They come from faraway galaxies. They can wipe out our civilization as we know it, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing we can do about it. Okay, good night, just wanted to let you know. You know, that takes away, people would demand you do something about it or investigate it or build up technology or try to start communication with these aliens and whatever. And the other part of it too is that I do believe they are involved with aliens. They are, there's deals made with our government and possibly other governments that the aliens are working with to divulge technology, slowly, you know, spoon feeding us technology as we go along. Because if you notice, after Roswell, all these technologies started appearing. You had transistors that made, you know, television, radio possible. Then all of a sudden, this optical cables came along, and then they're slowly introducing these technologies one by one so we can evolve instead of having just all of a sudden, you know, go from nothing to having spacecraft going to different planets.
What do you say to people that say that aliens helped build the pyramids or the Mayan temples? I mean, do you think there's any credence to that?
I think there is some credence to that. I think there are some lost technologies that were introduced to us by other races and that possibly we even had ourselves. But sound vibration is one of the things people think were used to create the pyramids and levitate the heavy blocks into place. Because just doing it by brute force and, you know, wooden rollers to roll these, you know, massive multi-ton stones across just doesn't sound like anything feasible that can actually happen. So it'd have to be some sort of technology that was either given to us or that we had at one point in our past and we've lost it.
But why do you think that the government would cover up? Are you saying you think the government would cover up because they don't want mass hysteria to break out? Is
Definitely.
that what your opinion is?
Yeah, there would definitely be mass panic if they came out and announced that there are aliens in other races. People would question their religions. They would question, you know, well, who created the earth? Did the aliens come here and create us? Did God create us? It creates too much, creates too many extra questions that the government doesn't want. The government wants to stay in control. They want us paying our taxes, going to work, watching TV, coming home, going to sleep, and that's it, and they're happy campers. Once people start saying, oh, well, let's go find these alien technologies, and it just creates too much disturbance. Like, we haven't been back to the moon, you know, I mean, just recently there's been some more activity on the moon, but back in the 60s we went to the moon, we did that, and then did nothing for 30, 40 years. So obviously they don't want us to explore the rest of space and ask more questions. They just want to keep us, you know, in control.
Do you think that we have the technology to go further than the moon at this point?
With conventional technology, possibly. With the technology that they're working with the aliens, definitely.
What do you say to someone that's just a non-believer?
Well, I never like preach to somebody, but if they ask me about it, I would say to them that there's billions of stars in our galaxy alone, and there's billions of galaxies out there. And just based on those numbers, if we were the only life, to think that we're the only life in the whole universe is arrogant. And being how so many times we've come close to extinction ourselves, you know, just from, you know, natural events or from possible nuclear war or something, if we go out and there's no life in the whole universe, that doesn't make any kind of sense. Another reason people have for thinking that there's no life in the universe is how they would travel these far distances from these, you know, hundreds of thousands, millions of light years away. And the aliens, you know, are more evolved than us. They have, you know, I mean, think about how much technology we've developed in the past just a couple hundred years. We went from, you know, steam engines to cell phone to smartphones in just a couple of hundred years. There are races of aliens that, you know, have been around, they have 100,000 years head start on us, 1,000,000 years head start on us as far as technology goes. So I'm sure they've developed the technology where they can, you know, transcend the distances at a more convenient way.
your take on the Trayvon Martin case? Obviously, everyone was in an uproar over this verdict, including myself. But would this happen in New York?
It would not, but like there's a lot of talk about stand your ground laws, and I don't even think this was a stand your ground case.
Why is that?
But well, stand your ground is it common law. When we talk about the criminal law, we talk about common law because hundreds of years ago, we started with kings and everything. That these things became crime, and one generation to another we continued. But at common law, we have a doctrine called the Castle Doctrine. That if you're in your own home and someone threatens you with deadly force, you don't have to run away from your own home. So it's like stand your ground applies that Castle Doctrine to the street. So say I'm walking in New York City, I'm just walking around and some guy comes up and puts a knife to my throat, okay, and I got a knife in my pocket. I can't then stab him in the heart and kill him if I can run away. And so no judge would even give you a self-defense charge. So, as a criminal defense attorney, you'd be looking at a jury like, oh my God, what do I do now? The judge says, no, as a matter of law, you were supposed to retreat safely if you could, you did not. Thus you're not entitled to a self-defense charge. My understanding of jurisdictions that have stand your ground laws is that you can have a preliminary hearing where you say no, he was standing his ground. The guy put a knife to his throat. He was in reasonable fear for his life, and so he then took deadly force to defend himself. But that's something that we don't have in New York. We have the traditional Castle Doctrine jurisdiction. And just in terms of gun laws, we live in one of the most, let me rephrase that, the most stringent gun laws jurisdiction in the country. It's like if you shoot a gun in New York City or the Bronx, that bullet is going to fall down and hit a young person, elderly person, or a baby. That happens here. It's not like Tennessee where you shoot it up and you get some Confederate flag or whatever, they do in the Confederacy. Here there's a densely packed population, which is why we view guns this way in New York City. So you would never get stand your ground or anything like that in this jurisdiction. It just would never happen.
What do you think of the stand your ground law?
I don't know.
Do you think it's legitimate?
Well, the people have a feeling that it's been misused. And, they'll look at statistical evidence and they say, well, it's not available to minorities. And I remember one idea, there was O'Malley, the defense attorney, was saying no, I've spent my whole career representing minorities. That's the most people that are defendants. So you would have people that would have a defense to something that may not. So say in our jurisdiction, you have two young kids in the Bronx and, they're on the playground shooting at each other. Here it'd just be attempted murder, whatever. But you could have a person have a hearing that's saying well, he had killed my homeboy, he's right there. I wasn't ready for this. He pulls a gun on me. I pulled my gun out, and if a judge felt that this person was in reasonable fear of death, that they could stand their ground, So you'd have to ask yourself, do we want a society where everybody's shooting everybody, or do we want citizens to, disengage and run if you could safely do that? Now, I really don't know the answer to that, but we tend to take things on an individual basis. So you're going to be dealing with one person, one case who's caught up in a situation. So in the criminal justice system, I kind of tend to distrust statistics because everything's different. So my answer would be some people would get a defense that they wouldn't otherwise have.
What do you think in terms of the self-defense law in New York? So let's just say you cannot retreat. At that point, you have the option to inflict injury on your aggressor, correct?
Well, if you're in reasonable fear of death or disfigurement, you could use deadly force to protect yourself. But it's a trial defense. Mm-hmm. That's what people there's a phrase that said, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Right. Because you're going to have a case, you're going to be in jail for a while, for 2-3 years waiting, and then this would be the way somebody spares your life. Was it defense? These things are trial defenses. The person's already been in custody, the process is already played out, and you're looking at a jury a couple years after the fact.
Because the George Zimmerman case, it was already kind of tried in the media before it even got to, and it was an expedited trial, it seemed like, compared to what we see in New York.
Yeah.
It happened very quickly.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, the thing about the Zimmerman case, you know, the Trayvon Martin case, you know, he was a kid who was dead, you know, is that there's this idea in the culture right now that it's open season on black males, that it's almost like lynching times again. We've had a lot of stuff with, you know, stop and frisk, where the NYPD had a whole policy where it says if you're a minority, if you're a black male, you're a Latino male, you tend to commit crimes more, so our traditional Fourth Amendment does not apply to you. We don't need any type of reason where we can call you a, you know, mother effer, throw you up against, like turn you out, like, you know, there were bullies at a high school. And so that you had a lot of people asking themselves, what do I do to protect my child? You know, like, is it the way he's dressed, how he's walked? And so you had like people saying he was just getting Skittles, he was wearing a hoodie, because in the media, you know, in the media and the culture, we have this idea that, like, you know, that how do you stop your child from being harassed by the police if they don't need a reason to do it? And I think that there was a huge blowback against that, and I think that that was the touchstone of it in our culture.
Or even like how, you know, the media kind of dirtied Trayvon Martin up, you know, that he got kicked out of school or he smoked marijuana or whatever, and it's just kind of, so the public kind of ran with that. So he was a bad kid. Like, I was talking to someone, they're like, he was a bad kid. I'm like, why was he a bad kid? Well, he got thrown out, he was smoking marijuana. I'm like, are you serious? Isn't marijuana legal in certain states?
No, yeah. No, it's completely legal in Washington and Colorado.
Right. But
I think 13 medical marijuana jurisdictions. So.
But I think the way the media plays into these cases, it really kind of influences public opinion, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be trying a case in the media anyways. That's why you have jurors. You know, they try to find, you know, impartial people that are just going to weigh the evidence. And, like, you don't want them listening to, and the attorneys know they're playing around. They're leaking things. Like, I mean, I'm sure that the stuff about the marijuana and the school and all that came from the defense, and just like the prosecutor was leaking, they were trying the case in the media.
But you would do the same thing if you were defending him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving us your insight. And that wraps up another edition of Inside the Box. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
So VIM stands for Volunteer, Inspire, Make a Difference. And why we started this organization is that I got tired of hearing people always talking about the problems of Africa and never the solutions, because we all know that Africa have problems. So if we keep talking about the problem and nothing gets done, then what's the point? So I started this organization to mobilize people who think about finding solutions to the challenges of the continent, and I wanted to mobilize us and to talk solutions to the many challenges that our continent faces.
And what made you come up with this idea? I mean, it's brilliant. You're a young woman. You know, you just graduated.
Thank you.
And congratulations to that. But it's such a bold, brave idea. What inspired you? Did some event inspire you, or just what you've been seeing on the news?
And, a lot of things has contributed to my start in this organization. But I would say the last straw was I was introduced to a book by a famous photographer. He's a Brazilian. His name is Sebastião Segado. He wrote a book titled Africa. It's about 336 pages. And he take this amazing black and white photographs, and he tells stories with that. And I was just, my history professor introduced me to that book, and I was just going through them, and I realized that it epitomized the Western story of what Africa is. So it's always the poverty, the diseases, the skinny kids with flies flying around their faces. It's the Africa that the beauty is only in the landscapes and the animals, and they portray human beings as these caricatures. And I've lived in Africa my whole life, and I felt I'm not like that. And the people that I know are not like that. I lived in the city. We drive nice, beautiful cars. We lived in a beautiful home. So that is not the Africa that I know. And I felt that if you don't tell your story and people tell your story, they tell it how they want to tell it. And I got tired of that. And I wanted us to portray our story the way we see it, which is our reality, which is our truth. And I felt it doesn't also mean that Africa doesn't have its challenges. Yes, there are diseases. Yes, there is poverty. People live in those extremes, but we are making progress. It's better. So I feel the story has to be in a two ways. It shouldn't be just a single-sided. If you want to tell it, then tell it well, and tell the both sides.
Why do you think that is the portrayal that Africa is given in media and literature? Why do you think that is?
I don't think I'll be able to answer that question because honestly, I don't know. But I feel that that is what people in the West want to see Africa as. Like, so the beauty is in the jungles, it's the animals, it's the sunset on the Sahara, or I don't know. I honestly don't know. So, and but I also think that we are at an age where the truth, the whole truth, has to be known. And the truth is that we have very intelligent people in Africa. We have, we could talk about the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Nelson Mandela of blessed memory. We have amazing people who are doing amazing things, and that side of the story also has to be told. We have great businessmen and businesswomen in the continent. We have intellectuals, we have professors, doctors, all in the continent. And I feel not just the poverty and the wars and the crisis story is not the only thing Africa should be known for. We should also be known for our intellect and for our the greatness that we are as human beings and as people. So I feel that side of the story also has to be told. And if the Western media wouldn't tell it, then we, the people who live in it, should tell that story. And that's why I'm mobilizing these people who also think like that to come together to tell our own story the way we see it, and also to help those extremes. You know, I say it is not all a stereotype that we have those people who are living in those extreme poverty. It is real. It is really real. But we could also help our own self. Nobody can help Africa but Africans, and that's what we're trying to do.
So that wraps up this edition of Full Focus. Thank you so much for joining us and continuing in the conversation. Until next time, I'm Crystal Parham. Are you or someone you know trying to get child support from a deadbeat dad? Please contact us. We'd love to hear from you. In the next edition of Full Focus.
Gymnastics is unlike any other sport in the world. It requires constant dedication and unwavering commitment, and it is pretty grueling at times, but the rewards are tremendous.